Hello folks, it's Graham from Utopia Cottages, and here's a little bit of a tutorial for you. Well, first and foremost, we'll just have a little look at some information in reference to file sizes. Now, unfortunately, it's not always obvious, because when you go to computer shops to talk about gigabytes, megabytes and all sorts of stuff, and nobody really explains exactly what it is. I mean, you buy hard drives in gigabytes, and then they talk about megabits for your network connection, and it gets a bit confusing. Anyway, what we've got here is a little PDF I made, and across the top we've got basically 8 bits. Now, computer data is in binary, which is 8 bits, and 8 bits make a byte. Now, if you have 1,000 bytes, you obviously end up with a kilobyte. To give you an idea, things that would be less than a megabyte in size would be like text files, spreadsheets, simple Word documents, a small JPEG photograph, those sort of items. Now, 1,000 kilobytes equals a megabyte. And this sheet, by the way, will be a link on the help page on utopiacottages.co.uk. So you can always go and have a look. Now, a megabyte, what would a single megabyte file size be? Well, a large spreadsheet, a biggish Word document with some small to medium photos, small movie, a clip of 20 seconds. But if you have a lot of megabytes in your file, up to 1,000, which is a gigabyte, then you can start looking at very, very large spreadsheets, big Word documents with lots of photographs and high resolution photos, large movies, high-res photographs, you know, and pretty huge documents. Now, it's all easy stuff relatively. 1,000 megabytes equals a gigabyte. Now, normally on computers, you will have hard drives which will be 160 gigabyte or 320 gigabyte. The stuff which I use on my desk is terabyte, which is 1,000 gigabytes. My other computers have got 9 drives, all the same size. Now, a simple way to look at it, hard drives would be multiples of gigabytes. For file size, that would be a high-res movie, a lot of stuff from BBC iPlayer. When you download it, is close on to a gigabyte in size or just over. Studio quality music, 24-bit samples, 96 kilohertz bit rate, top level games, 3D images, they can all be gigabyte size. Most of us, unless it's off an iPlayer or a movie we've downloaded or something, wouldn't have that sort of size files generally. Installations for OS or operating systems for Windows, they can be a few gigabytes in size on their own. So a terabyte, well, that's basically a hard drive for high-end computers. Now, looking at this, points of interest. Now, network speeds like your internet connection and hard drives are given in megabits per second data transfer rate. Megabits per second. So, if you want to convert our internet connection of 100 megabits per second into megabytes per second, which is, there's your byte, and there's your bits. So there's 8 bits to 1 byte. So 100 megabit internet connection, which we're on, you would divide by 8, gives you 12.5 megabytes per second. So people on 3 or 4 megabits per second are actually downloading less. The reason I actually, less than a meg, and the reason I tell you this is sometimes when you go to download things and you'll get on Internet Explorer, it pop up and give you the transfer rate of what you're downloading, which obviously depends on your connection and how busy the server at the other end is. Now, you may or may not notice, but hard drives normally sold as a decimal value, say 500 gigabytes or 1000 gigabytes, 320 or whatever. But when you go to drive properties, let's just do that now. Go to computer and we'll pick up there. Now you can see free space 355, total size 499. So that is actually 560 gig hard drive that's been partitioned to end up at 500 or 499, because that drive there and that one are part of the same physical disk. So that's a terabyte drive, that is 1000 gig drive, formatted, comes out at 931. But we started off with 1000. But after it's been formatted, we end up with 931. Just to clear up a little thing that might have been puzzling you from time to time, is basically the sold as a decimal drive, being 1000 megabytes equals 1 gigabyte. But in binary, it's 1024 megabytes equals a gigabyte. There's also a little bit overhead on the hard drive for mapping the actual drive, which is about 70 meg per gigabyte in size. So a 500 gig drive after formatting will end up at 465, and a 1000 gig drive will end up at 931. A little useful link here. If you copy this link, I will put it on the top of the YouTube, and go and have a read there. Some interesting stuff there with a hard drive calculator, which is very useful. Right, let's go and have a look at some file sizes. So I'll just get rid of that. Right, we've got a few file types. Now, this particular document is an OpenOffice document, so we'll go and have a look at that so you can see what it is. Right, this is how to roll back a drive on Windows XP. So if you've had an update and things have gone downhill, lost your sound, or your graphics aren't very good, or whatever, so this is the sort of document on which is available, so this is basically a Word document with pictures. So let's go and have a look at the file size. So that is 3,322 kilobytes, or in megabytes would be 3.3 megabytes. I'll just let you think about that a moment. So 3,322 kilobytes is equivalent to roughly 3.3 megabytes. So let's go and have a look at a few text files. Now there's several ways you can go and have a look at text file sizes, or any file size. Just hover over the top. Now that's a little text file. That's 438 bytes. So that's a very small document. And that's 1.31 kilobytes. But you can see the sort of size, generally speaking, 37 bytes. Don't know what's in that. It's a website link. That's all it is. And that's 37 bytes. So text files are quite small. Hence, you know, you'll never get much more than a few kilobytes. Now let's go and have a look at a few pictures. Different sort of view now, because in view is clicked on details. And with details you get all these columns. It will tell you the size of the picture, which is 4320 by 3214. Incidentally, these were taken on a 14 megapixel camera. And you can see 2716 kilobytes, which is 2.7 meg roughly. So let's go and have a look at that. Picture of a chainsaw piston. Really exciting. So you can get an idea that a lot of photographs that are quite high resolution are chunky. 2.2 meg roughly. Now if you go to view and go to thumbnails, now you can actually just hover over the top and see 1.92 megabytes, 1.68, 2.93. Very, very large for photographs of a compact sort of digital camera. And these are all JPEG images, so they've all been compressed. Right, let's just pop back up and look in some music. Now, ignore the traffic cone. I use VCO Media to play my music and videos. Very, very good, and it's free. So, yes, thank goodness for VLC. But look at that, 1.59 gigabytes. 1.22 gigabytes. Now, all these are a WAV file, and they're all taken at a high bit rate, hence the huge file sizes. And we'll see if that will just play a moment. It's coming. So yeah, that's basically, you know, I think these were of old LPs. Anyway, enough of that. Almost out of time. And of course, if you actually look at all these files, you can just see how much in size they are. I hope that sort of helps. Also, if you go to Windows Explorer and you look at your desktops, you can have a look at your sort of pictures. Go to View, Details, and you can do that with any program. Go to View, go to Details, and you can see the size of the files. Anyway, that's all for me for today. Just a very quick one on how to find your file size. And of course, if you've got stuff on your desktop, you can just hover over the top. So if you've got pictures which are 2.5, 3 meg big, and you're trying to get them to us, they're too big. So look at the other videos on Format Factory and how to actually reduce the size of your pictures. So don't forget VLC for playing all your media, and Format Factory for reducing the size of your pictures and converting everything else you want to. Okay, bye for now from Graham at Utopia Cottage.